Welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 184 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making my podcast one of them. If you are enjoying this podcast, then I would love you to take a screenshot and share it on your socials. Of course, tagging me in it. That would be super cool, because then I could get to know you and cheer you on just like you're getting to know me through this podcast. And don't forget, of course, the show notes for this particular episode can be found at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/184. This week's podcast episode is actually sponsored by Melbourne Innovation Centre and their digital solutions programs. Now, I've been involved with Melbourne Innovation Centre as one of their mentors and workshop hosts for about 3 or 4 years now. So pretty much not long after I sold my retail business. So I was pretty chuffed when they asked if they could sponsor my podcast for a few weeks. So if you live in Victoria, listen up. Melbourne Innovation Centre has subsidised programs that can help you if you're really struggling to reach new customers or struggling with your digital marketing. For just $44, you can get access to not only 3 hours of mentoring with a mentor of your choice, but also access to weekly training, workshops, masterclasses, webinars, online courses, and so much more. Like I said, I'm a mentor for this particular excellent program, so you can choose me, or you can choose to work with other people who specialize in other parts of business to really get all your business and digital marketing needs covered. You can go to the show notes, which again are at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au to see the link, or just go to courses.melbourneinnovation.com.au and see them all there. But let's get into today's episode. Today, I welcome back a past guest, Kate Toon. Kate was a guest last on episode 39, and you can go and listen to all Kate's SEO advice over there on that episode, which you can find at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/39. Now, Kate is still the Beyonce of SEO. She's still the queen of SEO, but today she is talking to us about creating the perfect sales page that actually converts into sales. Yay! Wouldn't that just be lovely? She's going to talk about, what should be where, what should be nowhere, and what to include and what to exclude in a sales page to make it not only, I guess, pretty in some ways, but make sure it has the elements to become conversional. So that this episode, I can't tell you, is just full of so much gold. You are going to want to take notes. So if you're driving your car or you're out running or walking, this is the type of episode that you might need to listen to twice. One that talks about making selling simpler by actually having a sales page that converts. So here's my chat with Kate. Kate, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast again. I think you're like the second person who's got to come on again. So I'm pretty stoked by that.
Well, thank you. No, it's quite an honour, and I'm excited to have you back on my podcast very soon. So it's a beautiful little pod swap.
Yes, it is. It is beautiful. Kate, for those who perhaps haven't heard of you, and I'm not sure what rock they've been living under to not have heard of Kate Toon, but could you tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your business, please?
Yeah, so these days I'm the founder of Stay Tuned Inc., which sounds very exciting. I need to get some business cards. And really that's the collaboration or the collection of all my little businesses. So I've got one business that teaches copywriters how to be better copywriters. I've got another business which teaches small business owners and e-commerce stores how to do SEO, please the Google gods. And then my core business at Kate Toon is my digital marketing membership, where I teach people how to use lots of different digital marketing tactics to build a successful business. So yeah, these days I'm kind of at the helm. I've got a little team helping me out, but I don't have any clients anymore. It's all memberships, courses, templates, events, that kind of thing. So supposedly passive income, although you and I both know there's no such thing.
Yes, and I giggle at the word of passive income. Absolutely. How long have you been in the game for? How long have you been building your empire for?
Well, I worked in I had a bit of a head start because I did work in advertising before I became a solopreneur. But I started my business in 2009. And for the first 5 or 6 years, I was a copywriter. I was going to say just a copywriter, but I shouldn't use that word just. No. So I was a copywriter working with, clients, big brands, small businesses. And then around about 2016 is when I started to build my other bits and bobs, the Clever Copywriting School, the courses. And I finally kind of gave up copywriting for clients about 3 years ago. Although interestingly, in the last year, I took on 2 clients just to keep my hand in, and also to test some of what we're going to talk about today, the sales page copy. I wanted to test it in a real live environment with a real live client, and just make sure that my process and my best practice ideas actually worked in real life.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's what all good marketers do. We are testing and measuring things and using our clients sometimes to help us, so the metrics aren't skewed for sure. So yes, I would love to talk about sales pages with you. I think it's something that I don't think enough small business owners put energy into or thought into. It's kind of, I just want to sell this, so this is what it just needs to look like. But I gather that there really would be quite a formula towards creating a really good conversional sales page.
Yes. I mean, I think even copywriters are frightened of sales pages. Yeah. So if a client comes to us and wants a sales page, there's a kind of imposter syndrome that a lot of copywriters have, because there is a clear connection between what you write, how it's designed, and how many sales you make. The ROI on a sales page is pretty clear. Unlike blog posts where, it's about engaging and informing and entertaining, and there might be a sale. With a sales page, good or bad, you can drive sales or you can drive them down the toilet. So I think if small business owners are worried, copywriters are worried too. And I think a lot of writers overthink it and think there's some kind of magical juju to writing a sales page. But as you just said, there's a process, there's a structure, there's pretty much a tick list of elements that you need to include. And that's what we're going to go through today.
Yeah. I was interested you used the word design. How much of an element is design in it as opposed to copy?
Oh, it's huge. So in my little course, which I created, which is why, kind of why we're talking about this, a big part of it is actually the wireframe for the page. So the structure. So as a copywriter or an information architect, it's really important to think about the hierarchy of the messaging. And this is where a lot of sales pages get it wrong. Like they're shoving testimonials up right at the top of the sales page. We're not ready for that yet. There is a flow. So architecting, is that a word? I think I just made it up. Structuring the page is super important. And then designing is important too. So, keeping the flow of the copy, moving the eye from right to left, having white space, the use of imagery, the use of different fonts, font sizes, all help the sales process. And the thing is, it's like when you're watching a movie and suddenly you hear the soundtrack. If you hear the soundtrack and become conscious of it, the soundtrack isn't working. If you're super conscious of the design of a sales page, it probably isn't working. It should be almost, you don't even notice how well you are flowing through the sales page. Most sales pages, however, it jars, like suddenly massive graphics. Suddenly the font's changed to blue for no good reason. Now the font's gone tiny. And you're like, what the heck is going on with this sales page? And that's also, I think, because people have a terrible habit of tinkering. They put their sales page up and then they add another bit and another bit, and then they add another bit. And at the end, it looks like a hodgepodge of different thoughts of ideas, and it doesn't all hold together. So design is important, but architecture is really important. The structure and the flow of the page is important too. And I feel that's the job of the copywriter to do, to help the designer So when I write a sales page, I write the copy. I also do a wireframe. So I would use something like Draftium, which is a free tool that you can use, or even Canva. You could even just draw it out on a piece of paper. I want the image here, then I want some copy here. And I pass that to the designer, because the designer is going to look at the copy and they're not going to know that this paragraph's really, really important, or that maybe this is meant to be a big headline and this is a smaller headline. So the more guidance you can give the designer, the better.
So when you are creating a sales page, if we think about above the fold, so the very first thing that they land on, what should go in there? Because obviously that is a make or a break type of thing. They're either going to bounce off or scroll down.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you've brought that up, because I actually think of a sales page as having 4 components. Yeah, I'm waving 4 fingers in the air. I don't know why. We're on a podcast.
It's a podcast.
So, part 1 is about solving the problem. Part 2 is about explaining the product. Part 3 is about proof. Part 4 is about action. So the section you're talking about is part 1, what I would call solving the problem. And the elements that you can include there are, you need to pose the problem back to the user. So you can either do that by highlighting a pain point, asking a question, and then providing a solution. And copywriters have this really useful tool that we use. It's called PAS, P-A-S, Problem, Agitate, Solution. So I say to you, Jen, do you have itchy feet? And you say, yeah, I do. Then I agitate that problem by saying, and it's embarrassing, isn't it, in public when you're always bending over to scratch your feet and people are noticing and you don't really want to go out because you're so embarrassed about your itchy feet. And you're like, oh my God, yeah. So I've given you the problem, I've agitated it. Then I give you the solution. Well, here we go. New itchy foot powder takes away all the discomfort, all the embarrassment, and makes you love your feet again. Boom, problem, agitate, solution. So that's what we need to get in that top panel. We need to get people's attention, and then we need to frame the problem for it and kind of make it a little bit worse, like show them the consequence of not solving that problem, and then present ourselves as a solution. Sorry, say that again.
I think it's the agitate that misses a lot. So it's kind of like, I'll tell you the problem, tell you the solution, but I haven't dug the little needle in quite enough to agitate you enough to want to take action quicker.
Yes, exactly. And there's another little copywriting acronym that we use, which is called AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. So you use that opening headline to really get the attention of the reader. Then you kind of spark their interest by taking it to the next step. Then you create desire, and then you ask them to take action. So even if you just look at the top of your sales pages, and the thing is as well, I think people misconstrue what sales pages are. If you are a service-based business and you do 5 different things, each of the pages for those services is a sales page, whether you think it is or not. Just because it doesn't have a price on the bottom and a buy now button, it's a sales page. So if you just look at the top of your page and say, have I framed a problem that is directly speaking to my audience? And it can't be too broad. It has to be pretty niche. Don't try and write something that appeals like, do you have eyeballs? That's going to appeal to everybody, but it's not going to appeal. It's not going to make me trigger an action. Do you have itchy feet? 99% of people will walk past that and say, no, I don't. That's okay, because you don't want those people. You sell itchy foot powder. You can't sell it to people who don't have itchy feet. So be a niche headline that really grabs the attention, points out a problem, then a bit of copy that agitates it, and then a clear, prominent call to action that shows that you are the solution to the problem.
Beautiful. I think that alone is well worth listening to this podcast interview, just to hear, because above the fold is just such an important element to be able to get the sale in the first place. Because if they bounce off if you don't get the head nod test, then it's awfully hard to make the sale after that, for sure. The other question that I guess I get asked a lot when it comes to sale pages, and I'd love to know your thoughts, is where do you put the price? How far down do you put the price? Or how, it's one of my biggest frustrations when I have taken the bait and yet I have to scroll all the way to the bottom to find out how much the bait's going to cost me. Is that the intention and I'm just too impatient, or should it be up higher?
Well, it depends what the price is. So there is a rule of thumb that the lower the price, the less copy you need. You
Yes.
know, if you're selling a $17 template, you don't need as much copy as you're trying to sell a 20, 30, I don't know how much they cost, $40,000 Rolls Royce. Yeah. You know, the amount of copy, the amount of proof and evidence and justification and affirmation you give depends on the copy. Now, the thing is, yes, we don't like a lot of marketing tactics, even though we know they work. We don't like pop-ups. We don't like FOMO. We don't like limited releases, but they work, right? So forcibly making people scroll through content to get to the price has an effect on the person. It makes them, whether they take in every word, it makes them think, wow, there's a lot to this thing. You know, if you have 2 lines of copy and a $2,000 price, it's like, what am I paying $2,000 for? The weight of the copy on the page justifies the price. But it depends how you use your sales page. So maybe we're talking about sales pages for masterminds, for courses, for memberships, for products, right? And we're not talking about shop products, like business products, right? So if we have to remember that people will often come to the sales page more than once. So we have our first time visitor and our second time visitor. And I keep my sales pages live all year round with the pricing visible. I don't turn them off and turn them on because I don't want last minute panic buyers, because last minute panic buyers are the first to ask for refunds. I want it to be a considered purchase decision. So I have my price right at the bottom, but I also have a little micro nav underneath that problem agitation solution element that has the word pricing in it. And if you click on that, you jump straight to the bottom. So I've kind of covered off both angles. The scroller, the first time visitor, the person who I want to take it all in, and the second time visitor who's ready to go. And also, if someone's super price motivated, there's nothing you're going to do to persuade them. If they already have a price in mind, they're going to jump straight to the price. They know the game. They're going to go to the bottom of the page. It's either right or wrong. So make their life easier. So I like the double whammy approach, bottom of the page and little button at the top.
I like that because I guess from a marketing point of view, that shouldn't be the only touch point they've ever had with you, is seeing the sales page. So somewhere they've been lurking, they've been following, they've been watching, and they're kind of like, for some people, they're already sold when they hit the sales page. They just want to know how much it's going to cost them. So I guess maybe that's where my frustration comes in, is it will just tell me exactly how you've already sold it to me. Now just give it to me type of thing. So it is, if you are good at marketing and you're just not relying on that sales page, you will get the people who are extremely hot or extremely warm before they even land there.
Yeah. And this is something you do well, right? You have visible pricing. I am really anti non-visible pricing. I hate when someone's launching something and you know it's going to be expensive and they're like, fill in this form to book a discovery call and then I'll tell you the price. It's like, what are you doing? You know, like if you can't show the value of your offering on the page and through your marketing, because it's exactly what you said, the sales page is the last step in a long flow. It's not the first step. You know, no, you're never going to sell a $2,000 product if this is the first time someone's seen your sales page, no matter how good it is, unless you're an absolute genius. It's everything you've done before. So visible pricing that you there justify on the page, I think is the way to go. Because like you know, especially if you're selling B2B or you're selling products to people who are reasonably savvy, they know the game. Yeah. They know that they're going to get on a call with you and you're going to spend 15 minutes trying to flog them something. And I don't want to go through that. Just tell me the price. I'm clever enough to work out whether I can pay for it or not. And I know you well enough to know whether I think that's good value. That's the point. I think not having your pricing visible is it's kind of an insecurity thing, because it's like I need to persuade you. I need to persuade you more. When you talk to me, you'll see it's worth the money. No, you know, everything you do before they hit the page persuades people that you're worth the money. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess, you know, my only solution to people who are really quite afraid is put a from in front of it.
Yes, exactly.
You just put a from then. And so at least there's a starting point, because you don't want the tire kickers who are expecting something to be $100 and it's going to be $997. And so, you know, you're cutting out all that extra time. I couldn't think of anything worse than being on discovery calls with people who are never going to buy, no matter how good I am, because they're expecting, you know, Kmart and you're offering Tiffany.
Exactly. And, that 15-minute call, you'll end up giving away a lot of value for nothing, because most people can't help themselves. So, yeah, you have a price. You're not going to reduce your price. It is what it is. The thing is to show the value through the sales page and through everything else that you do.
What other sort of mistakes do you see people making with their sales pages, or any tips that you like, one or two more tips that you can give people as they're, I guess, doing their wireframe for a sales page?
Well, I think, we've talked about the first part of the page. The second part of the page is, providing information about the product. And I think often this is an area where people overwrite and underwrite. So some sales pages are unnecessarily long. There's paragraph after paragraph, which essentially says the same thing. What you need to do in the explaining the product bit is say the headlines you could use, just subheaders on the page, are what's included, who it's for, what you get, so what do you get in this thing? You get 2 calls, you get a bag of crisps, Jen will come and stroke your hair for half an hour, whatever it might be, who it's for, who is the right target audience for this product, and who is it not for? Repel the people who are not going to fit. It's really important to say that, because you don't want people buying your products who aren't the right fit, because they won't be happy. They'll be the squeaky wheel. They'll get all your attention and it'll be a nightmare. And then, really articulating not just the features or even the benefits, but actually the transformation and the advantage. So, for example, my recipe course, you get 10 coaching calls, big whoop, feature. The benefit of those is that you get to ask me questions about the content. And on some courses, you can't do that. That, again, not really that big of a whoop. The advantage is you have your hand held throughout this entire course. No question is left unanswered. You will leave feeling empowered and confident, and you will be able to do your own SEO, saving you thousands of dollars a month. And what does that mean? You push that advantage even further. You're going to make more money. You're going to make more sales. And what does that mean? You push it even further. You're going to get to sit and watch Netflix with your family while the PayPal is pinging, so 10 coaching calls is not a sales. That's not selling nothing. That's the literal feature. The classic line in sales is people don't buy drills, they buy holes. But in reality, they don't really buy the drill or the hole. They buy the ability to put the shelf up faster so they can go on and do something more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I haven't actually heard that one about the drills, but that is funny. I guess they're selling the they can move on to the next project as well. Get it done.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Jen, I just need to let my dog in, Jen. I don't know whether you're going to leave this in, true life podcasting, or cut it out. Here we go. Come on, Pom. Oh, poor dog. See, stop doing it. Okay, I'm back.
Oh dear, that's so funny. Oh dear, what a naughty little puppy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've spoken about parts 1 and 2. Can you walk us
3 and 4?
3 and 4?
Yeah, so 3 is a really important one. 3 is the proof. And proof comes in different formats. So often we think of proof as testimonials. I'm just going to whack up loads of testimonials. And again, most sales pages put them in a hideous accordion that rotates around. What that means is that no one's going to see any testimonial other than the first one, because any heat map, any usability study shows that people do not interact with sliders at all. Yeah, they don't work on mobile phones. No one's going to click them. So you're far better off stacking your testimonials. And again, don't just put all of them in. Don't put the big long copy in. Pick 4 or 5 that really address the needs of the audience. So for my SEO course, I'd be saying stuff like, picking a testimonial that said the teacher was amazing, super friendly and generous. The next one might be the content was really up to date. The next one might be I thought it was going to be really difficult, but it wasn't. And the next one might be, I thought it was going to take a lot of time, but it didn't. So each testimonial is covering a different proof point. Not every testimonial saying, oh, Kate is great, Kate is great. Because who does that help? You know? And also try and have diversity, obviously in sex, in gender, in race, but also in business type. So I'm going to want an e-commerce person testimonial. I'm going to want a service person testimonial. I'm going to want to, so that I show that the course is relevant to who it's relevant to. So testimonials are part of proof. Another part of proof could be logos of businesses you've worked with. Another part of proof could be memberships and associations you're a member of that give you gravitas. Another one could be as featured in, if you've been featured in all these magazines and publications, that's proof that you know what you're talking about. And then another one is obviously the results. And nothing in the world beats a little chart with an arrow going up. I helped someone get from A to B. And obviously when you launch your sales page for your new thing, you might not have all of those. Yeah. So these are things that you add on with time. So as time goes on, you are going to get more results. You need to be pushing your customers to give you these results so you can put them on your page. So my recipe page, when I started, I had no students, right? So over time, I've added more and more, and I've deleted old testimonials and replaced them with better ones. It's a living, breathing beast. So yeah, proof is very important, and it comes in all those different forms.
Yeah, I love the idea of testimonials that say different things, that tick off the different pain points that because you know your customers so well, what is holding them back from saying yes to this course. But I also love the testimonials that will literally give the financial benefits, have that figure in it. So it helped my business go from A to B, or increase my leads, or increase my profitability, or whatever, because I think at the end of the day, that's what we want it to do. Like, we're not doing a course because we love Kate. We're doing a course because we want to grow our business. And if we can see, well, okay, some of it, let's go with 98%. The other 2% might be looking for some profit.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're really great.
I think it's about, and I think it's about transformation, and transformation comes in different forms. Financial transformation is obviously appeals to a lot of us, right? But also, transformation can be confidence. I've read reviews on your site where it's like, Jen, I started feeling like this, and Jen made me feel like this. Jen gave me the ability to do this. That's transformation. It may not be financial, but not everybody is looking at the money and the stats and the leads. Maybe what they're looking for is the ability to take a step that they weren't able to take before. One of my favorite testimonials is, I was able to fire my SEO agency. I love that. Sorry, SEO agency, but if you were doing a good job, you wouldn't have had to. So, a lot of us might not have the money transformation, but we have other forms of transformation, and that also works, because remember, everyone's coming at it with different feels.
Yes.
So yeah, proof is part 3, and then we get to part 4.
Okay, tell us about part 4.
Part 4. So part 4 is taking action. Yeah. So, we think of taking action as just a call to action button, buy now, but there is an art to writing good call to actions. Yeah. So you need to make them present and current. So a lot of people will put pronouns in them, book a chat with me. But then I read that and I'm like, but I'm me, you're you. It gets very confusing. So don't use pronouns in your call to actions. The ideal way to write a call to action button is to finish the sentence, I want to book my spot. I want to buy now. I want to learn more. I want to sign up. Whatever it is, join the crew, whatever it is. And you need to play with those. The studies showing that just changing the color, the font, the contrast, the wording in a call to action can, move the conversion by 2 or 3%, which doesn't sound much, but over the lifetime of your sales page, it could be a lot. So having multiple call to actions throughout the page is really important. Don't just leave them to the bottom. The price can be at the bottom, but the call to actions can be throughout the page, because they're going to click on the call to action and they're going to go to somewhere where they see the price anyway. So in that final section, you're going to want your pricing. You're going to want to have tables that show what you get for the different prices. Usually we go with the 3 bears approach, baby bear, daddy bear, mama bear. I always put mama bear last because she's the most important. Low price, middle price, high price. Usually you kind of frame the middle price as the one you want people to go for. You put your credit card icons, you put your different payment options. Do you have pay as you go? Do you have open pay? You put some kind of currency converter, bearing in mind that the people might not be in your country, and then you have your buy. But then as part of that call to action area, you have to overcome final objections. And there's a few different tools you can do that. Number 1, the classic, the FAQ. The FAQ is fantastic. You could, have as many FAQs as you like. You may have covered all those points in the sales copy, but coming to the bottom of the page, people might just say, so how does it work? So how many hours? So what do I get? That's just a more simple way. And again, that might be your second time visitor who just wants to get they have one last thing they want to overcome before they buy, and you answer it in an FAQ. Another thing, which is a little tactic, is called paint the future. So you have a little paragraph at the bottom of the page that talks about what it's going to feel like once you've bought this thing. So imagine never worrying about emails saying that your SEO is bad ever again, just being able to delete them. Imagine never having to pay an expensive SEO agency to work on your site. Imagine traffic coming to your site every day with very little effort and getting conversions from your site while you sleep. That's what the recipe for SEO success can give you. Boom. You know, get that emotion, get the heartstrings, you know, like paint that picture of the future. And as long as you're not over claiming, that's absolutely fine. So that's kind of part 4. And then there's a final part 5, a little bonus tip. Have we got time for it, Jen?
Yeah, we certainly have.
So you know this classic marketing tactic is scarcity. We talked about it at the beginning. And there's nothing wrong with scarcity. So scarcity pushes people over the line. I have evergreen courses and I have courses that launch. And I tell you, the evergreen courses do okay. The launches do amazing, because if it's available all year round, you think, well, I can get this anytime. Some kind of scarcity just pushes people who were already willing to buy to make a decision, to get off the fence. So the usual scarcities are price-based, early birds, limited time only pricing. They are limited numbers. So you're only going to take a set amount of people. They are limited bonuses. So in this round, you get this and we're not offering it again. All of those are fine. I wouldn't do all of them, because it can be a bit overwhelming. I'd pick 1 or 2, and then you have to stick to it.
Yes.
So I only take 80 people. I know.
That's
I take
my
80.
thing. I hate
it drives me
when
crazy.
people lie about this. Yes.
I went to some webinar platform that I won't name, and it had a 24-hour sale. You're only going to get this price today, countdown. And I was, debating getting it. I thought, wow, well, it's such a big discount, I'm going to get it. I went back to the site the next day and the clock had just restarted. So the same. And it left such a bad taste in my mouth that I eventually left that platform and went to use the one I use now, Webinar Ninja, which didn't have any FOMO, any scarcity. It was just happy to be what it was. So you don't need to, I don't do early birds. The only thing I do is a limited spots. And it is painful for me because I take 80 people and, there'll be 81 and I'll have to say, I can't do it. Because if I take you, it makes everything I've said a lie and you'll feel good that you got on the course, but it's just not right. And yes, I know that they could then go off and do someone else's course, but I have to have the faith that they may wait for the next round, because there's no point, it just undermines your brand completely. So some kind of scarcity does help push people over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just how humans think and how we tick. And we just sometimes just need that final push because we are all busy. So we are going to need to find time. We haven't probably got time to do this course. It's something that we want to do. So therefore we need to block out time. So maybe sometimes we do need the final push, but it is one of my biggest pet hates, and calling myself a marketer makes me icky sometimes because I think people think of marketers, like that are kind of, oh, they say this, but is it really true? And I'm like, well, for some of us, it really is. It's kind of a real value. And I guess I align myself with people who have the same value in that. And it really teases me off when it's not true, for sure.
But I think people are pretty savvy these days and I think they see through it. And, while you may be able to use that false scarcity a couple of times, I'm in a lot of forums, as are you. And, you get the word on the line is, yeah, this person said this and it wasn't true. What goes around comes around. So, yeah, you might be able to trick people a couple of times, but you won't be able to long term. At the end of the day, marketing and sales can seem sleazy sometimes. It can seem sneaky. But most people like buying stuff. They want to buy stuff. They have a problem. You have the solution. They have a disease. You have the cure. And when they come to your sales page, if you've done your other marketing right, they're really looking for affirmation that the purchase decision they're about to make is a good one. Yes. They're looking for you to overcome any final objections and to make them feel good about buying something that they want to buy. So if you think of it that way, you're not being sneaky and using tactics and manipulating people. You're helping people understand what you sell, explaining it thoroughly, making it clear that it's not for everybody, and then giving them permission to buy. And if you do this well, then you will have no refunds. For my recipe course, I've only ever given 2 refunds, and that's out of 1,300 people who've taken the course, and both of them were because of life issues, like they had a life crisis or whatever. None of them were because of money or because of issues with the course. And that is because I don't overpromise. In fact, if anything, I underpromise, and then they get in and they're delighted, So yeah, it's not about being sneaky. It's about being sincere, I think.
I think so. And again, I think it comes down to all your other marketing as well. They know you and they know they're aligned with you before they even hit that sales page, for sure. Kate, I just have one final question. I'm not quite sure whether you can answer it or not, but conversion rates, like when you look at a sales page, how much traffic you push there, how much traffic you get there versus how much you convert. You said, changing things could increase like by 2 or 3%, but I would have thought that was quite a big number considering what the conversion rate probably is for a sales page.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big number. I mean, I think there's a kind of industry average of about 3% of people will convert. So yeah, if you can shift the needle, I guess I'm talking about, sales pages that I've worked on that literally were just wretched, utterly wretched. And so you're going from like 1 or 2 sales to 5 or 6. So it is a big increase. Yes. So when you get to the pointy ends, like with my sales pages, which I've worked on, I'm not going to move the needle that much. There's only so much more I can add. Like with my recipe sales page, I'm actually starting to strip out some elements now because it's just got too unwieldy. It's too big. So yeah, when you get to the pointy end, you're not going to see those dramatic shifts. But when you come from, Jen, you look at some sales pages for some things and it's like, what the heck? And a lot of the time with the members of my communities, I do these reviews of their sales pages. A lot of the time it's like, can we just delete 50% of this? You've already said that. Like you've talked about what the problem you're solving 8 times on the page. What I got it the first time, unless you're coming at it from a different angle or you're talking about a different problem, don't keep repeating yourself. So, I'll give Jen a link. I'm selling things. There's a very cheap checklist on my site. It's called the sales page checklist of just ticking off one of each of these elements. 1 problem, agitate, solution, 1 features and benefits, 1 who it's for, 1 about, 1 proof. And if you just tick off those and then leave it and see what happens and see how many sales you get, and then gradually add things. Your sales page should be iterative, it should be evolving, and you should keep a good eye on it, because a good sales page, can make you millions of dollars if you get it right.
Yeah, I like that. But I just thought it was really just something I wanted to talk about, because people, think, well, I get all this traffic and 50% of them are gone. I'm like, well, if you can get a 50% conversion rate, then you have to teach me what you're doing.
Oh my God. Yeah. 3% is the industry average. So anything over that, you're winning.
Yeah. Beautiful. Kate, this has been so good. You are a wealth of information of so many things, and not the least of which is sales pages. I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing all your wisdom and gold today with my audience.
Thank you so much. I look forward to having you back.
Yeah, that would be lovely. And if someone wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way? Where's the best place to find out more about you and your courses?
So katetoon.com is kind of my hub site where you can kind of launch off into all the different various websites, bits and bobs that I have.
Beautiful. Okay. I will put a link to that and your checklist in the show notes. That would be great. Thanks so much again, Kate.
Thank you.
I told you it was good, didn't I? Yep. I'm sure you took lots of notes and you might even need to listen to this one again. But you know how I'm all about making people's business life simpler, because it's kind of in the title of the podcast for starters. I would really, really love you to share this episode with another small business owner who's doing that daily grind, who would love to listen to the gold in this particular episode. You can send them a link to this podcast, or you can simply share it on your socials and maybe tag them, but making sure you tag me and tag Kate, of course, so that we can say thanks, can connect with you and cheer you on in business, of course. But that is it for another podcast episode of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Let's continue the chat in my like-minded business owners Facebook group. You can join there if you haven't already. I've actually taken a bit of a different stance with my Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group. I've tried in the past to do some really great interviews with people and get experts in their field on, and I've been a bit hit and miss. But this year I've put the call out. I've got the schedule full. So between now and December, I've got so many amazing guests lined up who are all going to do Facebook Lives into the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group. So make sure you come and join there. Another really great reason to come and join my community. Remember, all the show notes can be found at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/184. But before we go, thanks again to Melbourne Innovation Centre and their Digital Solutions Program for supporting this episode today. If you are based in Victoria, don't forget to check out their programs by going to courses.melbourneinnovation.com.au. And again, for just $44, you can access so much, including some one-to-one mentoring time with me. Anyway, I will see you next week on the podcast for episode 185. But in the meantime, if we aren't hanging out on social media already, let's get social on social. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and of course on LinkedIn. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.